What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. With that being said, man, I want to speak on on a interview that Iceman George Gervin gave to Matt Barnes his podcast All the Smoke. Man, I enjoyed that interview. Listening to Iceman George Gervin play. Iceman George Gervin, he was from back like in the ABA days, right? He played in the 70s. He played with the San Antonio Spurs before the ABA merged with the NBA. Now he did make that merger with them, right? And but he was there before before the Spurs even got with the onto the NBA. And this poster right here, man, this poster right here is I think, in my opinion, this got to be one of the most iconic posters right here. I remember I didn't have this poster, but I know people who had this poster hanging in their bedrooms and stuff like that, man. This poster was like almost everybody had it. You know, that Iceman George Gervin. I can't really think of anybody who had a better basketball poster than this poster right here, that Iceman George Gervin. I mean, this just was the coolest poster, you know, that anybody could have. But George Gervin, like I said, he gave an interview to he gave an interview to Matt Barnes, right? And he touched on that All-Star game when some of the like Magic or not Magic, but Isaiah and some of the guys was trying to freeze Mike out of the game, right? And he touched on that, and he touched on like how much respect him and like mutual respect him and Mike have for each other, man. And I want to play the audio from the interview with Matt Barnes and give my take on and my opinion on it, man. I just thought it was a cool interview. And here we go.
The infamous freeze out All-Star game in '85.
Oh, you talking about
with MJ. What's the truth behind that?
Oh, man,
40 years later.
Oh, that's a joke, man. I'm gonna freeze you out and I'm playing against you.
Oh, you was on the other team?
I'm on the other team. You know what I mean? So, that's again what tell you about media.
Right.
You know, I mean, they said, oh, Ice and Magic, and I'm grown, y'all. I mean, I had that was my last All-Star game. I wanted to bust him up because he was a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff. So I freeze him out, man. I want to bust you up, man. And stuff, man. Before I get out of here, man, I want you to have a touch of ice.
Mm.
And
I had no idea, to be honest with you. I had no idea that they was trying to include George Gervin, and I knew that Isaiah, and they really couldn't say Magic because Magic was on the West too. Like Magic was on the other team too, right? So I knew it was Isaiah and some of the people. He was trying to get some people from the Eastern side to freeze Mike out. But Mike, he made out all right. He made out pretty good.
They went with all that rap, man. I was disappointed, man, because I told Mike, I said, man, you didn't believe that stuff, did you, man? Come on, man. I'm a grown man, man. What, I'm gonna freeze a kid out, man? He was a kid then, man. And he got a lot of attention because I was getting dressed and stuff, man. And they came in and asked me, man, how I feel playing against Mike. I said, man, ask Mike how I feel playing against Ice. he ain't shot a jumper yet, man. Come on.
And see, that's how, like, and you can't blame the old school guys. That's how they felt, though. They was like, give us Al due, and give him time to earn his, and you talking about, like I said, George Gervin, man, was like, and back in his ABA days, he was one of the premier basketball players in the ABA game. Him and Julius Erving. Julius Erving played for the Nets. When the Nets was in the New Jersey Nets was in the ABA. So, and they were like those two guys were some of the biggest draws as far as like, you know, like people just like to watch them because they had played that up and down, tempo, that high tempo basketball. The ABA back in those days was like way more exciting to watch than the NBA. And I don't even think it wasn't called the NBA. I think it was called NBL or something like National Basketball League or something like that. It didn't turn into the NBA until they merged. But yeah, man, that was some heavy stuff back in the day.
Man, but that was media.
Right.
You know, so that's, you know, man, that was, it just goes to show you, man. You just,
Blown out of proportion.
yeah, blown out of proportion, man. Come on, man. I had my turn, man.
Mhm.
And then he proved to me when I played with him that I had my turn, you know.
So the next year you go and joining him, and what I mean, obviously you touched on earlier, you saw similarities with the drive and the work ethic as Dr. J, but seeing that day to day, what was that like?
You know, for me, man, I knew I had my turn. You know, my turn was over, man. I was with the franchise for 12 years, and I was the man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and stuff. So I'm coming to another franchise that he the man. You know, I mean, I got common sense. You know what I mean? So, but what happened is he got hurt. So that brother got hurt.
Look, George Gervin said he knew, you know, because George Gervin did get traded from the Spurs at the end of his career to the Chicago Bulls. Now I remember that. I don't remember too much of Gervin. A little bit of him playing with the Spurs, right? Because let me see, the merger I think happened in like 76, something like that, 1976. I wasn't really following basketball then. I was following basketball probably like around 1980, right? And in 1980, he still was with the Spurs, and he didn't go over to Chicago until probably, I'm thinking about like 85 or something like that, 84, 85, something like that. But yeah, man, he had, he paid his duty. He had his time. Like I said, I remember that poster, that Iceman George Gervin poster was everything.
So I kind of took that role for a minute. This is how I said, you know, I was old. You know, I was
You still averaged what, 17 that year though, right?
Man, come on, man. I was old though, man. I mean, you know, 17. I always say I was old, but the Iceman of old kind of showed up every now and again. You know,
how old were you at that point?
I think I was 35.
Okay.
I know one game I was in Dallas and stuff, man. You know, and I got what, 33 and a half or something, man. You know, 35 and a half. And I ended up with like 40 something. And that brother said, "Hey, Ice, what happened?" I said, "Man, I was just kind of showing you how it used to be."
George Gervin and Julius Erving, they used to put up some big numbers. Like I said, they played that up and down. That ABA was like up and down. Man, they put up some big numbers when they played, back in the ABA days. And the thing about those two guys, Dr. J and George Gervin, especially I think, in my opinion, Dr. J, I don't think that the NBA, by the time you got Dr. J got to the NBA, I don't think they got. Dr. J was really, really good in the NBA. He won a championship with the Sixers, but I think their best years was like around that time, like the late 70s, right at that merger time. So by the time Doc won that championship, he wasn't like he was back in the ABA days, man. Neither one of them was, but they still was, they still had gas in the tank when that merger happened, but it wasn't like what they was at the ABA when they played that ABA.
I had a good relationship with him, and it proved that when he was in my documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know some of the things that he felt about me that he told me in my documentary. And I tell him I'm forever thankful.
Mm-hmm.
And we all, man, you got to go to the source when you got a problem, and a lot of us don't.
Right.
A lot of go with that hearsay stuff, man, and it end up killing you, man. I mean, if you're a man, go face another man. Say, man, you got a problem with me.
Tell me to my face.
Let's work it out.
Yeah. Mike once said, when you think of great basketball players of all time, if you're not talking about George Gervin, then you haven't watched enough of the game of basketball.
And look who said it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's a statement in itself. So,
so that's high praise. You know what I mean? Like when Mike, and you can tell, like I said, if I've seen other interviews where these two guys did interviews together, right? Mike and George Gervin, and you could tell that Mike had like a ton of admiration for George Gervin, and the same thing with George Gervin. Like he really, he admired Mike, and he saw in Mike the same things he saw in Julius Erving, like Dr. J. And they just, and the thing about it, you had the younger generation, which was Mike's, and then you had George Gervin, but he didn't try to like, he was more than happy to pass that torch on. Like he said, he had his time. He said he played with the Spurs for 12 years and he was the man, in San Antonio. So by the time he got to Chicago with Mike, he knew what it was. He knew what it was, and he wasn't sweating it. He knew he paid his dues. He know he had, it just was Mike's time, right? And so, like I said, this interview right here, man, was in my opinion, I think it was cool. I think this is something that this generation can learn. Like you don't have to put down the younger generation or dismiss the older generation. I think they can, they can learn from each other and appreciate each other.
I ain't got to never sell me.
Mm-hmm.
I know I could play. Nobody got to tell me I could play because I put in the work.
Right. You trust
You know
it.
what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, man, they ain't got to sell me at all. But when people like himself and Doc tell people who this guy is, that's enough for me, man.
That's all you need.
Yeah. And see, that's what I always say about that GOAT conversation. You don't really have to sell yourself, like as far as being a GOAT or whatever you think about yourself. You basically, all you have to do is put in that work. And that's how ball players felt. Like, like your performance spoke for itself. You didn't, you ain't have to campaign or put ads in the papers and stuff like that. You just, your performance spoke for itself. And then when when you get acknowledged by somebody like Magic Johnson, Dr. J, like your peers, man, they say that's the highest praise when you get acknowledged by those guys right there, man. Those are guys who got to play you on a day in and day out basis and figure out a way to stop you or at least slow you down.
That's all I need.
You guys ever have any one-on-one battles?
Me and
MJ?
No. Like, no, I ain't want none of him. So, I'm being honest.
Yeah, you heard that. He said, "No, man, I ain't want none of him." Man, when you like, I have watched George Gervin, like old clips and stuff like that, man. That finger roll was like, it was money in the bank, man. And yeah, man, I think for him to say, man, Mike, nah, I ain't want no parts of Mike, but he gonna go on to say something else too that I think was,
I mean, I had my turn, man. Yeah. He probably wouldn't have want none of the old Iceman,
right?
But
right.
I ain't want none of Mike, man. I mean, now I could shoot with you. Now, I think at that time I still could.
A better jumper.
Well, yeah, I was pretty effective, and stuff. So Mike had to learn how to shoot. Y'all know early on in his career he was a scorer. Then he became a scorer and a shooter. And stuff. So, but I ain't saying I could beat you, Mike. Don't. But I didn't mind trying.
That's what's up, man. I dig that interview though, because yeah, man, I just think that their attitude, those older guys' attitude and approach about the game, they just was basically realistic about the situation. When Mike came to, even Magic and Bird, when Mike came, they beat him. Bird and Isaiah and them, they beat him, but they knew what it was, that like Mike was going to be the face, and as soon as you get the right people around Mike, it just was going to be a different story. Mike had absolutely no quit in him. But, those guys, they knew what it was. They didn't really knock him or anything like that. They benefited from his presence in the league. And that's what I think, that's what I like about that interview, George Gervin, just telling how, what he thought about Mike and then what Mike thought about him. I thought that was cool. So, man, I just wanted to share my opinion as far as what I thought about George Gervin and Michael Jordan and the relationship that they had. And with that being said, man, y'all make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.